behind you. And you never hear anything about it. Nothing. That's wrong. It's just wrong.
Did everyone have a chance to sign the card for Jessica?
It's coming around.
Wrong one.
Call the meeting in the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. The purpose for our hearing today is petition 2024-061. The applicant is Port King Packing, and the request is for an A1 agricultural district to the I1 light industrial district. The address for this property is 8708 South Illinois Route 23, Marengo. The PIN number for this property is 16-14-400-002. This is a 4.3 acre parcel on the east side of Illinois Route 23, approximately 1,200 feet north of Grange Road in Riley Township. At this time, I'd like to have the Zoning Board of Appeals members identify themselves and the township in which they reside, starting on my left.
Mary Donner, Greenwood Township.
Robert Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
I'm Linnea Kustra in Alden Township.
Vicki Gardner, Nanda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Bill Kernick, Grafton Township.
This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from the newspaper is dated November 23, 2024, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. Affidavit of posting was signed and date posted was December 2nd, 2024, thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was November 19th, 2024, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. This would be NRI number L240914647. Are you all associated with Port King?
Yes.
So there's no public, so I don't have to go through the procedure. I will just say that anyone who's going to be talking today, if you're going to be giving any kind of testimony, I need to swear you in. So if you're going to be talking today, please raise your right hand.
He's not. He's
You're not going to talk?
he's
Okay. Do you affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, then we will turn it over to Mr. Bernie.
nice to see you again, Ms. Kuster, and all the members of the zoning board. Hello, Bill. I'm Tom Burney. I used to sit on this board back in the 90s. I enjoyed it immensely. So, thank you for your service.
Enjoyed it so far.
Good, good. So I'm representing the Port King Packing Company with a 4-acre parcel, as Linnea said, over on the near Marengo on the east side of 23. If you could go to the next slide. These are the principals at Port King Packing. It's a family-owned business, as we'll go into in our testimony. Paulo Scaletta is here on my right. He'll talk about the business and why it is that they're requesting rezoning and for what purpose. The gentleman to his right is Mr. Adamik, A-D-A-M-I-K. He's the man who's designing and building this cooler facility, and we'll tell you why it is that it fits into and helps them grow their business. If we could go to the slide about our request for zoning relief, please, in that just a couple slides. Okay. So, Paulo, looking at these statements here about our request for zoning relief, are the statements there accurate and correct, and you adopt them as your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. So there will be no slaughtering, is that correct, on this 4-acre parcel of property?
No.
And as the zoning board will see later, and perhaps they've seen in the report, this is a hole in a donut of land that's surrounded by land owned by Port King that's used for this purpose. You want to put in a refrigeration unit on the property, and you've been advised that you need I-1 zoning to do that. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And The refrigeration unit is intended to complement the other uses that are occurring to the south, the north, and the east of your property? Okay, if we go to the next slide. So again, here's a series of statements about Port King. So can you just run through that? Just hit the highlights of Port King Packing.
Okay, well, they started in '88. They had 25 employees and only doing 250 pigs, 240 a day. I think that how long do we go for? I think up until '99, they were starting to build a carcass cooler so we could expand a little bit to go kill more pigs. And they were welding and it caught insulation and the whole thing caught on fire in '99. So then they got some insurance money, blah, 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 they put together. They started building Port King. Our first day open in 2001, we killed one pig. All day in 8 hours, okay, because there was no machines, everything was done manually at the time, so we got new machines and, yeah. 40% of our product goes overseas, different countries, Mexico, we go to Canada, El Salvador, all this South America. Philippines, nothing in Europe, but we do supply a lot domestically. Especially after COVID, we started keeping a lot more here. And we ended up getting Hormel. You guys heard of Hormel, right? Tyson, Smithfield, they buy all this. They do so many pigs that they need more product from us too. Because they do about 15,000 a day. We do 2,000. So
this says you had started with 25 employees. Is that accurate that you now have 240 employees?
yes,
And is it accurate that if this zoning is granted and you build this refrigeration unit that the number of employees will increase?
oh, for sure.
Thanks. Annette, can we go to the next slide? Does this accurately depict the survey of the property of the land that you bought in 2004?
Yes.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a couple of side-by-side aerials, just giving the zoning board a feel for what's around it. The property subject to the zoning is highlighted in yellow. Up to the south is your facility. We'll get a closer look at this, but it's the Port King facility lies to the south of this, right, Paul?
Yes.
Okay, and there is all that green area. What is that? Is that a gravel pit?
It's a gravel pit. It's all water now. That's all groundwater now because the gravel pit did dig all the gravel that they needed and it's just fresh water there now.
Okay, so it's not likely there ever be anybody building there in the future with all that water there. Is that correct?
I don't know how else to say it, but I don't think anybody in this room will be alive if they ever filled that back in to build something.
Very well put. Can we go to the next slide, please?
There's a lot of water.
So just again, another picture of and just for point of reference, the 003 building, that's where the principal operations occur for Port King. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay, then we're seeing the gravel to the east. We see Port King's land, 006 and 003 adjacent with a gravel pit to the east. And it would appear to be a farm on the other side of 23, correct?
Yes.
Moving on, please, Annette. Another picture of the facility and a little closer up of what the main operation looks like. Let's go to the next slide. So again, looked at these things over, Paul, and do you agree that the statements on here are accurate and correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's continue on to the next slide, please. Okay, this is a blow-up of the subject property, and it's a rough site plan of what it is that you're proposing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that in your PowerPoint presentation? And could you walk us through that slide, and what are we seeing there?
Okay. So the darker blue on the right side of it, that will be the freezer that we want to put in. All the lighter blue would be if we needed to expand eventually. That's all that is. But it's roughly about 36,000 square feet.
Yep.
It's got 6 dock doors, but they're facing, let's call it the east, so they wouldn't be facing Route 23. There's actually a dry storage area too, where the darker gray, all the way to the right, okay? Our dry storage area that we have existing in our building holds about 60 pallets, that will hold 700. So all those trailers that you see in the back, those would be gone, because that's all our dry storage, that's how and it costs us rental every single month to have a load of cardboard come in, boxes load. So we're trying to get everything inside. Yeah, I mean, that's
So
kind of the
tell us,
gist,
tell
yeah.
us what is this cold boning? What is cold boning?
Cold boning.
You incorporate a method known as cold
Oh,
boning.
okay, so like, we get the pigs today, they go through the process, they get slaughtered, they go into a cooler, they chill for 24 hours, okay? The next day, we have our boning room, we call it, and you're boning the pig cold, because there is a process that they bone hot. They'll kill and cut at the same day. We do not do that. We chill our carcasses first before we cut the next day.
Okay, thank you. Now, there are, how many carcasses or hams can you store or have in a freezer at the current time? Do you remember?
So right now, on our existing freezer that we have, we could hold 600 pallets, 600 to 700 pallets, okay? Then we have a little blast freezer that'll hold 100 pallets, okay? And we're producing anywhere from 500 to 600 a day.
Okay.
So we're running out of room.
So where do you go to freeze the carcasses?
90% of it, I'd say a little bit less than that, goes to cold storage downtown Chicago.
So you have to
We have
transport
to
by
transport
trucks
it with trucks, yes.
all the way downtown in
Yes.
Chicago.
Mhm.
And this would eliminate that entire operation.
Yes,
It would just transport it over to this cooling
right.
area.
Yeah.
And then from there, the product will go out to whoever's buying it.
Whoever's buying it. yes.
Okay, and then this cardboard business, which we're seeing going on the north side, what is the cardboard, is that so you can wrap the product?
Well, it's
and
boxing
ship it?
material, right? So you box meats and all that stuff. You got stretch film, you got plastic bags, all that stuff. But we use so much that we can't keep it inside. So on a daily basis, you have to park 2, 3, 4 trailers to pick what you need for that day. Now we could have it all inside and save a lot of money, because when you bring in the load, you could unload it and store it instead of paying storage. It'll take you 5, 6 months to unload the trailer.
Okay, and then could we go to another slide? All right, so the county staff was kind enough to point out that the Unified Development Ordinance has some independent standards for food processing with animal slaughter.
Okay.
And Paul, are you familiar with these, and can you state that you were in compliance with all of these 5 standards? Yes. So the answer is you're consistent, your operations are consistent with all 5 of these, is that correct? And you also, the USDA is also pretty involved in regulating this operation, is that correct?
We have 4 USDA inspectors that actually work on the line with us on the slaughter part. Then we have a USDA veterinarian that's on site every day. And there's a swing inspector that checks our whole plant on a daily basis. So we have 4, 5, 6 total USDA every single day.
Generally, what days of the week do you operate? How many days a week?
Typically Monday through Friday.
Okay, what are your hours of operation typically?
So we start in our boning room at 5 a.m. We need to get a head start before the kill part comes in, because we need to make room in that carcass cooler so you could put fresh pigs in there for the next day. So we start at 5 in the boning room and then 7:30 on the kill side.
And there will be no animal slaughtering on this 4 acres, is that correct?
Nothing whatsoever.
And just explain the main operation that's permitted as a matter of right, is that accurate, that you don't hold the animals for more than 24 hours?
Yeah, we don't even get to 10 hours, because they come in on trucks, they back in, we get unloaded, and we order just enough of what we're gonna use that day. Unless there's a breakdown, we get pens. in our facility. They'll be stored there, they get fed, they have water, and then we continue the process the next day. But if it comes in, let's say 1 o'clock, a load of hogs, 1:30 it should be already in their cooler. 1:40.
Could we go to the next slide, please? All right, this is a certificate that Port King has received, and it's pretty current. It's like 15 days old.
Yes.
Could you tell me what this is all about?
This is a third-party audit, okay? We have to get this done because a lot of our meat, pork, ends up in McDonald's. Okay, so they send a third-party auditor, they check our whole facility every single year, and you need this, or 90% of our customers will stop buying from us if we don't have a third-party auditor.
All right, so is this the first year you've ever received this certificate?
No, we've been doing this since I've been there, since I know 16 years.
And every year you get it.
Every year it's that kind of almost that same score.
It's a pretty good score, isn't it?
Yeah.
And 100% is the highest?
100% is the highest. Okay.
What is, could we go to the next slide, please? All right, this is Jim's turn. Have you, I think my last question is, have you received any complaints from any surrounding property owners to the extent that there is?
Yeah, that we don't give them any pork. Not one. There's nobody there. There's nobody
Your
there.
attorney's got the same complaint, so.
Come on by, all you guys come on by, I have no problem with that.
All right. I don't know if they want to do a site inspection. All right, Jim,
Yeah,
why don't you tell the zoning board about yourself and
Sure.
what you're doing on this project, and just run with it, please.
Yep, my name is James Adamick. I'm with United Insulated Structures. I'm a senior project manager. We've been retained by Port King to design and build their facility. United Insulated Structures is a 60-year-old company that specializes in cold storage and food processing facilities across the country. We mainly work anywhere from, we generally stay around the Rockies to the East Coast. We are headquartered here in Chicago. Like I said, we've been doing it for 60 years. We're full design build. We have an in-house architectural and structural engineering department. We will consult out with consultants that we use on a very frequent basis for electrical, plumbing, HVAC. And then in buildings like these, they're very specialized refrigeration systems and fire suppression systems. So those are all design build by the respective contractor that we hire to design the system. That's pretty much the ins and outs of what it is that we do. We work for companies, like Port King, 3PL providers, US Cold, Americold, other food companies, Toronto Baking, Clyde's Donuts, some with Cook Foods. So we work with a wide gamut of clients across the country.
Hey, could we go to the next slide, please? All right, could you describe what's depicted on this slide, Jim?
Yeah. So what we see here is the kind of the taller or the what looks like the pop-up area would be your freezer. That's going to be at a minus 10 degree cold storage. The area where the trucks are at is what's referred to as the cold dock. That will remain anywhere between 38 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the area in the picture there to the left is what is referred to as the dry dock. That will remain at an ambient temperature. That'll house a small office with an employee break room. And then that will also be all the dry storage area that Paolo had referred to, as well as a drive-in dock that will allow fork truck equipment to be able to move product, the dry product as needed. The nice thing about the way these buildings are designed, they're designed vapor tight. The last thing that you want in a freezer building is any sort of moisture or humidification. It'll freeze. So these buildings are airtight. The docks themselves, the way they're designed so that when the truck backs up to that dock, the doors can remain closed, the dock can seal itself, and then the overhead door can be open, and the truck doors can be open. Now you're anything you're doing to stop that transmission of temperature. The doors to the actual freezer itself, in which case there's only 2 biparting doors that are large enough to fit the lift equipment through, remain closed pretty much at all times and are only opened as necessary to allow product in or out. And like I said, 6 dock positions, and that's these buildings in a nutshell. They're steel buildings with clad in insulated metal panels, which is a polyiso insulation sandwiched between 2 metal skins, and that's it.
How long is the construction expected to take place if you started in the spring?
A job like this should be approximately 8 months to do.
Okay, so it could be ready by this time next year.
That's the goal.
Okay, and let's just take a peek inside, because this is really elaborate what you've got here.
Okay.
This is the floor plan.
So what you see inside here, we'll start from top to bottom. In the upper left-hand corner is actually with the little structure that will house the refrigeration equipment. Moving down below or to the south, or I guess to the west, is the is the cold dock. So that's where product will come in from the processing facility to be loaded into the freezers to freeze. And then vice versa, it will exit that way when they're ready to export that product to whatever customer is currently purchasing it. There'll be a couple items set up on the cold dock itself. You'll have a shrink wrap machine, you'll have a deslatter, which is all part of their operation, how they palletize and depalletize product. Moving down below as well, the facility will have a blast freezer. So as that wet product coming from the processing facility can be loaded into the blast freezer, which in 48 hours will freeze that product solid. It'll then move out, they'll put it in the storage racks, so all the kind of squares and grid system that you see there is it's what's referred to as a 3 deep pushback. So you can have 3 pallets stacked, 1, 2, 3, it'll be stacked 6 high. And then the aisles allow the fork trucks to pick those and bring them back to the dock to be shipped off.
What happens in the event of a power shortage?
In the so generally it's dependent upon the user whether or not they want to have emergency backup.
Yeah.
We'll generally stay at a frozen temperature, not for a necessarily prolonged period of time, but it's a.
But we are putting the connection for a generator. We're ready
Yes.
to go. We can call, explain that.
So what we have, so again, back up in the upper left-hand corner is where also all the electrical equipment will be housed. There's what's called a dry tap box that'll more or less be in the wall. In the event of a power failure, Port King can call a local rental supply company and say, I need X size generator. They can bring that generator out to site, and there's a quick adaptation, connection available that they can connect it to. That would be enough to power a certain amount of the refrigeration equipment to keep that freezer at that -10 level.
Good plan. Or that concludes Mr. Adamick's testimony. I will just go through the standards for a map amendment, and really what I'd like to do is adopt and incorporate Kim's staff report. I mean, she nailed it.
Excuse me, I'm Anna, I'm not Kim.
You're not, Anna, did you do that?
My name is on there, yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
She's Thursday.
Oh, she's Thursday?
Call her Thursday.
Anna's Thursday. Well, you did a great job, Anna. Thank you. So, is the use compatible with the proposed zoning and existing use of the property? The staff report shows it even better than we do. Surrounded by I-1 zoning, this is a hole in the donut. The use allows the expansion of an existing successful business in the county, which is good for our tax base, which is good for employing people here, which is something that everybody here encourages in terms of good manufacturing businesses in our county. We don't have a real estate appraiser, but that would have been a waste of money to show that we are not devaluing our property, or in fact improving the value of our property by having this facility, allowing these people to avoid the unnecessary expenses of transporting their product to the city of Chicago for storage, the environmental benefits of that, of not, belching trucks with diesels going to and from the city, and maybe making it easier for those of us who like to go in and out of the city to not have to be fighting their traffic. The extent to which health, safety, and welfare are promoted by the existing zoning, this is what our zoning ordinance is all about. And because this ground was not zoned originally, it's only because it was owned by somebody else, and that man has unfortunately departed, and his estate then sold the ground back in June to Port King, and they got on it right away to get this application in. So there is nothing to suggest that there's any endangerment to the health, safety, or welfare. The relative gain, I've covered that in terms of the benefits to the county from this development, benefits to the environment. Is it suitable for the purposes? Can you imagine what else? We certainly wouldn't want to put a single-family residential use in here. Talking about coming to a nuisance. It is suitable for this purpose, and these gentlemen have shown how it assists what they're doing. It's been vacant, considered in the context of land development. Clearly, all the land around it is developed for this facility, and it's only because ownership was not unified that this piece didn't. Community need for the proposed use until we stop eating pork and bacon and everything else. I suspect there's a community need, and the gentleman says it's not only around us, but it is also they ship worldwide. So clearly there's a demand for this, and clearly it benefits us. I'm told that the folks buy their pigs, some from farmers here in McHenry County. Sometimes they go get a county fair pig, but it's certainly not enough to feed this. And so they go all over. And is it consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan? And Annette clearly established that in her report. So for all those reasons, we would respectfully request you to recommend this rezoning to the county.
Okay, I'll start with questions on my right, Mr. Kernick.
I really don't have any questions. Given the testimony, my only questions involve the nature of what exactly was going to be going on the property and the period of length of time for construction. And all of those questions that I had have really been answered.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Schnabel.
Thank you. I have a couple questions here regarding, I guess, volume. When we see one of the hog semis pulling in, how many hogs would typically be on one of those trailers?
Like anywhere from 80 to 100,
Okay, and how many a day are you actually taking inbound?
16 to 17 trucks.
Okay. You mentioned increases in employees in the future. Hopefully that is true. I must say, by the way, I think you run a very clean, attractive operation for what you do there, and I mean that sincerely. Are you gonna have enough parking for more employees? Because it looks like that lot is really jammed up right now.
So there is additional parking on this side.
So could we go to the blue? It would just help, I think, if we had an exhibit.
You have the picture of the whole site?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the one.
No, like even our property? I
Oh,
wanted to show
yeah.
some.
Yeah, let's keep going back. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Does that help?
So, yes, it does. So our parking lot's in the front.
Yeah.
Okay. We made more spots, let's call it right under where it says subject. You see those cars parked like that okay. We added that. Now, how many spots were we gonna get on this side now?
It's preliminary. It's a handful of spots right now, but again, with trailer week, that can increase, and it's.
Because we've been talking about, because it's not completely finalized. I don't know if we're good, because we have 10 cars right now that we could park on a new property. Okay, and then, can you, back to that one, please?
Okay.
That building, all the way at the bottom, to the left of the lagoon, okay, we have all that gravel right there, okay? We're gonna turn that into a parking lot too.
Okay. Those trailers that you see stacked up, they're still
Yes.
parked there right now. Are those your trailers?
These are ours, yes.
And those are used for what purpose?
So when the product is frozen, let's say it's ready to go, but they're not picking up for 2-3 days, we have to put it on a trailer because we're running out
These
of
are
road.
refrigerated.
Refrigerated, they're freezer trailers.
All right, that makes sense.
And most likely 90% of those will be gone with this building. So you lose all that noise, all the diesel smoke. and all that
My
stuff.
question really revolves around this issue with the incoming deliveries, because they can stack up on Route 23. They sit there and they park, a couple of them at a time sometimes. And why are they not able to come in when they're needed?
The only time they're sitting out there is if they're coming before hours or after hours. And we tell them 150 times a day, we want nobody on the road. Okay, because we have plenty of room to have everybody in here, because especially our livestock, there's a schedule. We start unloading at 5, and then every half hour. So if anybody's on the property before their time, we send them away. Ride around, drive around, go to the truck stop, we don't want you sitting here. Because it makes a lot of noise and it's a lot of congestion too. I mean, so But this is gonna help a lot too, because all the trucks that are picking up product are all gonna come in and then go to that property. So our whole driveway is gonna be open, so you're gonna have now 8 truck spots on the new property, when all we were using is the driveway for spots.
So during operating hours, do you think that would help that
Oh, totally,
situation? Because
totally.
as of right now too, they tend to park in Riley Township's lot. Or they'll turn around in Riley Township's lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
One of
that-
the trucks actually backed into the building and caused some damage to a Riley Township.
and they were coming to us?
That's what I.
Yeah, I mean, we can't control that.
No, I know
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not your fault. but
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up so
Yeah.
that you're aware there are,
Aren't they supposed to be putting a truck stop there too on 23?
that's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen, okay, that sign's still there, so I was just wondering, I don't know if they're
The
gonna.
fellow that was gonna build that, built the one in Belvedere over at the Genoa Road and
Oh,
I
okay.
90, that's his truck stop.
Okay,
So
okay.
no, that's just a pipe dream.
Yeah.
But as long as you're aware of what's going on, you seem to have a handle on it, and that was my concern, that at least you knew that some of these things were going on.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not gonna belabor my point anymore, and I'll move on to the next
Okay,
member here.
Thank you.
I just have some questions out of curiosity, basically. So you get these hogs come in live, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you put them in,
A pen. We unload them,
pen,
we have pig,
and
we
then you
have,
slaughter them,
yes.
and then you load them up. And how do they get from the slaughter area to the cold area?
Okay. Wow, she could draw you a picture, but, okay, let's say, can we see, do we have a picture?
Pointer by chance?
Do we have I can go up.
You can just
Yeah, you
walk up
can
there.
just walk up there, that's fine.
No pointer, no clicker?
He's got a pointer right there.
So they'll come in through here, right? So they come around, they come here, they back in. Okay, here's the livestock dock.
Yeah.
They get unloaded, here are the pens, okay? Then they'll start coming this way. There's a door here, and we call this the execution hall.
Mhm.
No other name we had. So they'll go through here, then they go into a dehairing machine, okay?
A what?
So a
Oh,
dehairing machine.
dehearing.
So, I'm sorry, skip the step, they go into a scalding tub. So all the men in here.
This is
when you
after they're dead, right?
Yes. I didn't want to explain how we actually kill them. They get waxed, they get stunned, and then you cut, whatever. So there's a scalding tank, you warm the skin up, like when you have to shave, you warm up your face before you shave. And then they fall into a dehairing machine. It's a bunch of razors. It gets all the hair off, 90% of the hair off. They come out, and there's this table that they fall onto. They make a hole in one of their foot, actually both feet, so they can be able to hook them and hang them. So they hang them, and then they go through a singer. Burns the rest of the hair off.
You're telling me more than I want to know.
Okay, so they get killed.
Product moved through the building.
So they get killed, after they're done, they go into a carcass cooler. Okay, they hang overnight, okay, and then the next day, that same cooler's got a door on the opposite side where the boning room is. They take that out, they cut it to pieces, whatever we're making on the production that day, and then they start coming back here. Here's our existing freezer, just this little like rectangle here, and this is our cooler. So they'll come down to cooler, go around, and here's the freezer door. They go in here and get stored. When it's frozen, then we ship out of these 4 docks.
Okay,
But right now, they have to make a constant loop to get back into the freezer.
so they're basically slaughtered and processed, and then what do you do? Put them like on carts or something to get them to the,
We have pallets. We put, most of the stuff goes in boxes, and there's, every different box is a different quantity. So 32 or 30, you finish a pallet, you wrap it, goes in the freezer until it's frozen.
okay.
You want pictures?
No.
I got the cameras, I can show you it live.
So it's going to be forklifts that take it to the new cooler?
No, we're gonna load it onto we're gonna have 2 trailers,
Okay.
that's all. We're gonna load it onto the trailer. As soon as it's loaded, this guy will drive right here, park it, they'll unload it and go in the freezer. But all of these will be gone, all of these. Less noise too.
So then by doing this, this new portion that you're talking about, you think you can, you'll have room to store everything that you're processing?
Oh,
You won't
totally.
have to transport it anywhere else? Okay. I forgot the rest of my questions, so I'm just.
It's okay.
I have no questions.
Mr. Cozen?
Oh my God, it's so long. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. No.
Thank you. It's the preparation, the thoroughness of it
Yes.
that's so attractive. The number of shifts that you have on premise,
There's one shift and then a cleaning shift.
and this facility would not add to your
No,
incoming outgoing?
because everybody that's in the shipping department right now will be moved to that building.
The access onto State Route 23, will that need to be modified, or is the state giving you any indication of any change?
Because we're still gonna be coming in the same way. There's nothing changed. We're not adding a new entrance or nothing like that. Because we have security up front, so we'd like them to come in the same way, go get loaded and come out the same way. So it's not adding any more entrances or more traffic. It'll be the same. Because it's not, we're not gonna be killing more pigs. So the production will still be the same. We just were able to work more sufficient.
But you'll still have the number of trucks, instead of going to Chicago, they'll still be arriving and leaving from your facility.
Right, but when we're saying to Chicago, that's our drivers.
Ah,
Okay, we're delivering product down there to store. So we can get it frozen and then those trucks will go there and pick up out of there.
in terms of the building itself, it seems it maintains a certain air balance in that end of it in order to be a secure building. How do you accomplish that type of air pressure and exterior ventilation?
So there is, the refrigeration system itself, the way it works is the cold is generated in what's called an engine room. And then that's sent via pipe to evaporators that are actually hanging from the ceiling within the freezer. Those are constantly blowing cold air. And that's set to a certain temperature to maintain -10 throughout the entire facility. And the air is just moved and it's constantly recycled.
So exterior ventilation?
No, because you don't want any penetration to the outside whatsoever. You want an airtight building.
Clean room. It's kind of like a clean.
Yeah, clean room gets into a whole nother area, but.
Right, but
Yes.
it's kind of a
So,
big,
yeah, within that
Clean.
facility itself, kind of along those lines, yeah, you don't want anything from outside coming in, you don't want anything from inside going out. There's no floor drains, there's no water, there's no plumbing. Your entire fire suppression system is all a dry system. Yeah, the whole floor is insulated underneath the concrete slab, and then the equipment actually uses heat rejection to warm piping underneath the slab, otherwise the frost, you'll freeze the ground. So actually beneath the slab in the freezer is heated to above freezing temperature at all times.
So just going to the point of your business history, besides, and to be more emphatic, any citations, whether it be for operational or for labor in the last 5 years?
You have to answer, sir.
I'm sorry, no, sir. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Lynette.
What about the energy demand? Will that change in terms of the service capacity needed along State Route 23?
In terms of whether that's being evaluated right now, we don't anticipate that, but again, we're at the early stages right now. We've got a preliminary calculation of what the total project demand, so that in the future part Paulo was referring to. But those conversations with ComEd have just been getting started.
Again, the curiosity of the detail for a moment. Inventory control. How do you maintain control of what carcass is on what shelf in a building of that size
All right, so every carcass that comes in,
without too grisly of a detail?
no. Every carcass that comes in gets weighed, okay? As they're coming in, they have a tattoo, okay? They get tattooed with a certain number. That number goes into the computer, okay? So they all stay together in one pen. So when you're about to start the process, you only do that one pen, okay? As soon as they start the process, there's another computer that they punch in that number. So we know it has a red tag and a different color tag. This is when it started, this is when it ended, and you know it was that lot. When it gets all the way around the process, they get reweighed, and there's another computer there. So you could test out what you actually lost from the whole process. And it gets counted all one more time, and then they go into the carcass cooler. So the next day, when you start processing, every box that gets weighed goes into a computer system. Every single ounce of meat that gets weighed goes into a system, and then we have a computer that we check all the inventory that way.
Let me just go back to one other point, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Come back to it. You've shared with us the size of your employment base, the growth. Could you just put a generalized monetary value of what you contribute to this part of McHenry County or your operation?
I'd say 90% of the people that work there all live in McHenry County. If not all.
And what would that monetarily be, a payroll approximate? I mean, the IRS, we don't.
I really don't know the exact number, but I'm like, it's 230 people live in McHenry County.
Thank you. And back to the issue of product control, quality control, just your general professional opinion on what happened with Boar's Head and how did the contamination enter the domestic market given that kind of quality control?
I don't really know exactly what happened internally. The way we put it at Port King Packing, Boar's Head is a different animal. They're so big that they're not even our competition, we're not there because we're so little. So I know the Listeria part of it, it comes with the sewers, okay? It's all standing water, it's all got to do with sewers. As soon as we heard that, we had an outside company come in and test all our sewers and all that stuff, and we came back clean too. You never know, I mean, USDA could check all this stuff, but we nipped it in the bud before anybody else. But I really don't know exactly how that started there, because they're not really giving too much information.
Then my last industrial question is, there is underway, I reported a large truck stop going in West Dundee.
Yes.
Do you see that contributing or enhancing your business?
I think there'll be, because the truck stop's in Marengo right now. Is that Hampshire or Marengo on 20? It's Hampshire. They're jam-packed. Okay, nice, there's trucks going in there like crazy. I think trucks will be able to come there over the weekend. So if they're gonna pick up on a Monday, they could go there Friday night if they're there early and wait there. They don't have that kind of room in Hampshire. I think it would help us too. We wouldn't be storing any trailers there. There's no need for us to do that. But I think it'll help a lot of outside truckers. But the trucking aspect on us is minimal. We have 2 drivers that do local runs.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Dunn?
I'm easier, I think. When you first said that you sell to McDonald's, I thought, well, where's the beef? No, that's a different company. But as soon as you said bacon, I thought, oh, now I know where the pigs go.
Yeah, bacon and the McRib is pork.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, the ribs to me is, I mean, that's seasonal or it hasn't always been that way. But bacon, yes, where's the bacon? So the second one is, once you get your pigs in there and they are slaughtered, who does the deboning? Or who does the boning? Is that by hand or is that by machine?
It's all by hand. It's all by hand. We have, so there's 2 rooms, right?
Mhm.
I don't know there's 240 employees, but I don't know exact people. On the slaughter side, there's about 80 to 90 people in there. And on the boning side, there's 110 to 120. And it's all done by hand. They first come in, there's a big saw that'll cut it into 3 pieces.
Right.
But it's all manual. You'll grab the carcass and cut, and then it goes to 3 different lines. And then they do the further processing depending on what production we have for the day.
Okay.
Looking for a job?
I want to be a welder.
We're looking for a welder. We just interviewed one yesterday, actually. So.
I have a lot to learn, and I'm not as strong as I used to be. But in that same line, as long as you have an invitation that you've already handed out, unintentionally, I'm sure, no matter how this place votes, I want a tour.
I brought a bunch of my business cards because you guys are all more than welcome to come. I mean, you don't see that too much, so if you don't have to see the whole process.
No,
I
I'm fine,
understand.
I'm fine with that. I have hunters in the family, they've got the deer, they've got the pigs, they
Anybody who
got
wants
this,
to
they got
come,
that.
more than
And
Yeah, no
Tom
problem.
can tell you when you get into certain areas of law, you see more than you ever wanted to see in
It
your
sounds like
lifetime.
a road trip for the zoning board.
But at any
Hearing
rate,
is turning into something I
I'm
anything about land use that you have a question
It's
about?
land use. I want to see how they do what they do so that when somebody asks me, well, why did they do that? I have a slightly better idea, more close to it. So I am done. Those were my
Madam
questions.
Chairman, may I
You have
ask,
another question?
I think I have one.
Can I ask mine first?
You certainly may, but it does follow up on what she was just saying.
So because this is a SARA area, this is a strategic aquifer recharge area, I just had some questions. You said there would be no more water usage. I just wanted questions about how water is treated on this property. Will it be this, it sounds like there really, and it's a freezer, there really isn't any more water usage? You know, I just would like somebody to answer that question for me.
So for the freezer, the water usage will be, there'll be some water that will need to go to the condensing units as a process of the refrigeration, or process of refrigeration, which then will condense and evaporate off as, you know, the process moves on. And then after that, the only water really required for the building is the employee washrooms and a break room sink, you know, a hand sink and those. So it's actually a very, very minimal amount of water required.
And if this allows you to increase your business, then you will be using more water in the other part of the business, the slaughtering part of the business, if you can bring in more hogs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so your water usage then, it looks like you have these settling ponds and everything, is that, can you
So that-
explain?
I will. That's how we used to process. The settling ponds, the dirty, they're all, so the first four all have liners. They do not go underground. The first pond is the dirtiest, it'll settle, then it'll go to the second. The fourth lagoon would be the dirtiest, the cleanest water, I'm sorry.
The fourth is starting from
The fourth is
east
this
going
one.
west?
So the one closest to the building
Yes.
is number one. The one furthest away is four, okay?
Okay.
Sorry. That'll be the cleanest water we have. And then it would go into that bigger pond to the left of it, let's say, or to the north of it. And has no liner, and that would go into the ground, and the ground would actually clean the water. But now, that white building there, next to the first lagoon, is our new water treatment plant. All our dirty water goes into one, goes into two, stops there, gets sucked back out, goes into that new water treatment plant that we have, and becomes a crystal clear, almost drinkable water. Okay. Then I'm gonna stand up again. Thank you. So, it'll go in here, come here, gets sucked back in, there's a pipe right on this side, goes right in here, gets cleaned. Then there's a pipe underground that it goes to this little pond, it's all crystal clear water. Okay. We have one more process to put in, it's called an RO system, that is UV lights. That last process, and then the water's, it's already gonna be reusable because it's going into the ground, but there's no solids, it's crystal clear. We do not use any of that water, but these two ponds and that big one will be eliminated eventually and all run through our process through the water treatment plant.
And does the county do any inspection?
Every year.
Once a year?
I think it might be more, don't quote me on it, but we have daily inspections from an outside company that we do. We have all the results, all the test results and all that stuff. And I think there's weekly checks on the water, how it is.
Okay, so I might have a follow-up question for staff regarding that. And then, so if you're not having these trucks going into Chicago to take this meat to cold storage in Chicago, you will probably have less truck traffic in and out of your property? Would that be the case?
Totally, because we only have 3 drivers. So they could do 2 loads a day. Sometimes we have 10, 15 loads we need to take. We have to pay for outside truckers to pick it up and take it down there. So that's a big saving in itself, and it'll be less traffic, because a lot of it will be stored here, and whenever it's ready, one truck picks up instead of moving it 3 times.
So that ingress and egress, it's gonna simplify that a little bit for you.
100%, 100%.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, I think that's all my questions for you. I might have some for staff. Okay, Mr.
This is a short and easy one. We were going on and on about the deboning. Once you do the deboning, what happens to all the bones?
There's where the livestock goes in. We need a pointer.
You're doing well.
And
I
get
need it, I need it.
extension.
Right here, it's like our rendering station, okay? So there's an auger inside the building. All those bones will go into the auger and then it'll come out and go into a truck, a container, and then they ship it away. It goes to Green Bay, Wisconsin. And then they make lipstick and makeup and all that pretty stuff that you guys.
Bone marrow.
Okay, thanks for answering that.
Okay, I will turn it over to staff then, if you have any questions.
No questions.
So then we'll take your report on it, if you would, please.
Okay, so the subject property is currently zoned A1. It is surrounded by I-1 on 3 sides. The west side, it is incorporated into the city of Marengo. Surrounding land uses, the property has been used as a residence. As Mr. Burney, I believe it was Mr. Burney testified, that the property owner is now deceased and the family has sold it to Port King. So it has not been used as a residence for over a year now. The surrounding is industrial. To the west is agriculturally used. Future land use map does have this entire area as office, research, and industrial. And just a reminder to the board that there's been a lot of detailed testimony provided about how the process works. But this is a land use decision that you are looking at. And you need to make certain you're making your decision based on the 8 criteria up on the board here. No further that concludes my testimony.
Okay, could you just talk a little bit about what the requirements are in the Sarah area and if there's anything more specific here because it's in a Sarah area as far as water usage or water disposal on those sorts of
The
things?
main thing in our Unified Development Ordinance is a limitation of the amount of impervious surface. So no more than 50% of the area can be impervious. That's the main thing for us there.
Just to allow that recharge.
To occur, yes.
But as far as the water that is recharged, then
There's
in
no
an
standards for
industrial,
that,
there's no more specifics.
No.
Yes, Mr. Carson.
Thank you. Apropos the understanding the pattern of development, have we heard anything from Marengo?
No.
And then the land uses that surround the property in north, east, and south, approximately how long have they been so zoned or?
Okay, I'm sorry, which properties were you talking about again?
The land uses around the subject property,
The property owned by Port King. Those were rezoned in 2013.
I have no further questions.
Anyone else have a question for staff? Okay, at this time we'll take the closing argument if you have one.
I think it's all been said. I mean, there are events ahead of us today, so you don't need to hear any more from me. I rest.
Okay.
For an hour.
At this time, we'll close the hearing portion of the meeting and move to the voting portion. Again, this is application 2024-061, and the request is for A1 Agricultural District to I1 Light Industrial District.
Madam Chairman, I move approval of the petition.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Eldridge, second by Ms. Donner, to approve the petition. Discussion, Mr. Eldridge.
Yes, this is an A1 parcel that is surrounded by industrially zoned land in the county. It has been a single-family residence for quite a long time, but is not suitable and is would be far more suitable as industrial than as single-family residential. We're not looking for single-family residential in 4+ acres of agriculture, A1 zone property in any case. And this, in an area that has been planned to be residential, planned to be industrial for decades, is really an extraordinary anomaly and an artifact of its particular history. Pork King has been there for about 40 years. It has been a very good operator. It has been a growing company and a major contributor to the economy of McHenry County. It's gone from 20+ employees to 200+, and this will help it continue to prosper and hopefully grow considerably. It has, I've had the privilege of sitting on a couple of previous petitions they've had, and I have heard testimony both today and uniformly in the past that lead me to believe that they are a very good operator, clean, very concerned about the environment, and operating a clean, safe operation that is not either a hazard or a nuisance for anyone, either a neighbor or anyone who should happen to drive by. This is located on a Illinois state highway that is one of the major thoroughfares, arterial roads in McHenry County. It is exactly the sort of use that we want to see in the county, and so I am entirely enthusiastic in supporting this petition.
Ms. Gardner.
Thank you. I concur with Mr. Eldridge. You make an excellent case for your request. And I really, just looking at this without having heard any testimony from you, I had to say, it only makes sense to take that little tiny piece and make it I-1. So I'm in favor.
Mr. Cozen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The presentation concluded with the admonition to consider this under the standards for a map amendment, of which within it is a balance of any one of those factors. But the factors have been presented to us by a threefold presentation of such quality, and whether it's attributed to council, the owner's record, or the engineers, it is one that moves into the favor of which I will be voting for this amendment.
Mr. Schnabel.
I agree with everything that's been said, and I might add the other big bonus to this is the existing residence is a total eyesore and has been for years. It'll be nice to see it raised.
Miss that.
Ms. Donner.
I've heard everything, and to keep it short, yes, I will be supporting this. It was just so interesting, I had to ask. I'll ask later. Thank you.
Mr. Kernick.
I agree, concur in everything that Mr. Howie Cozen has said, and clearly all the standards have been met. And in particular, I think paragraphs A, paragraph C, D, E, and H are clearly met. So I think all standards have been met.
And I would agree with my colleagues. I think this, consolidating this business so that they can have more on-site instead of having to transport to other locations, it just makes common sense. And then just our ordinance making this an industrial use meets the standards in our ordinance, so I'm in favor. So I will call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge.
Yes.
Ms. Gardner.
Yes.
Mr. Cozen.
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel.
Yes.
Ms. Donner.
Yes.
Mr. Kernick.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. It'll go to the county board with a 7-0 vote approving this petition. This time the hearing is closed.
Thank you. Merry Christmas
Thank
to all.
you.
Merry Christmas.